talked about the behavioral and environmental predictors of shyness, it's important to talk about how shyness can manifest amongst peers. And that's really where the bulk of the research in social withdrawal and shyness takes place, in the context of peer relationships. So it's important to understand that when a person is experiencing shyness with that approach avoidance conflict, that avoidance is making them be preoccupied with negative evaluations. They are constantly worried about saying something or doing something that other people will judge in a negative way. And so because of that, they're constantly trying to reflect and anticipate what their self-projection will be, how others will understand and take what they're about to say. Now, this might mean that they're going to say it anyways, but after they think about it thoroughly, or this may inhibit their behavior and stop them from saying and doing many of the things they would. We can think about a child who has ADHD. Typically, we can characterize that person as being really high in impulsivity and working without a filter, but shyness would be considered working with a really thick filter that doesn't let anything get through. Of course, it's not a perfect analogy because we know there are individuals with ADHD who are shy. But that being said, we tend to talk about these as opposite ends of a spectrum. So one of the areas we have to talk about regarding shyness and peers is the notion of peer acceptance. And this is because, as just mentioned, when someone is high in shyness, they tend to do certain behaviors that will impact what their peers think about them. Even if they eventually initiate play or eventually invite someone to their house to play, they're going to be slower to initiate this. It's going to take longer for them. So because of that, their classmates might think that they're not interested. And when they are hanging out with someone who's shy, that shy person is going to say less, they're going to talk less frequently, and they're going to be more impassive. They don't want to make the decisions. They would rather pass the buck to someone else to make all the decisions. And once in a while, shy individuals really display their massive level of social incompetence. And what I mean by this is because they say less and because they approach others less often, they get less practice in how socialization works. They get less practice in sort of how kids speak these days. And so when they actually try to participate, they might come across as really awkward. And in some situations, socially anxious and shy individuals may use social lubricants such as alcohol or drugs to try and feel less inhibited. But when they feel less inhibited under the influence of alcohol, they may start to speak more often, but say things that are really faux pas in their peer group or really uncool, and then they do receive those negative judgments from others. So then it can sort of develop into a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're negative preoccupied that other people will not like them, and then when they do something that really flubs up, other people don't like them. And so because of this, they can experience both peer neglect and peer reject. Peer reject is when peers form a conscious opinion of a shy individual that is negative, that they do not like them, they're too awkward, or they're too quiet, or they're not cool and fun enough, and they don't like hanging out with them. In comparison, social neglect and peer neglect is the idea that they don't form an explicitly negative opinion, but they also don't have a positive opinion. And this happens a lot to shy and socially anxious kids. This is the idea that they don't really stand out as someone kids want to be their enemy, but they also don't stand out as someone they want to be their friend. So they're sort of ghosts in the classroom. In addition, because shy children tend to be quite passive and submissive and quite socially incompetent, they may be at risk for victimization. That is the idea that others may see them as an easy kid to pick on and to sort of push around. And a lot of the work in this area has been led by Gary Ladd as well as Eric Buss in terms of how shy and socially withdrawn children may be at more risk for victimization and peer rejection and neglect as opposed to peer acceptance. Now, in addition to just peers, we have to talk about what happens when shy kids have friends. When you have friends, that should be good, right? Well, what we actually find, particularly the work by Dr. Julie Bowker, has found that shy kids might have friends, but they tend to have fewer friends than non-shy peers. What I mean by this is that the average kid has 4 friends that they would count as their friend, that they would hang out with on the weekend. Shy children might just have 1 or 2. Or if the average kid has 7 kids they can invite to their birthday party, a shy kid might only have 3. So they're going to have less close contacts for starters. In addition, within the relationships they do have, within the friendships they do have, we tend to find that they're rated as being lower in quality by both the shy child and by their friends. And so what happens here is because the shy child is just less confident and they don't self-disclose, they don't really have any heart-to-heart with their friends, they don't really form that really tight, intimate bond that other kids are developing. Especially in adolescence, when we see kids really talk on the phone or text message for lots of hours and really talk about their feelings, we find that the shy kids are holding back and they're not self-disclosing that much. In addition, because shy kids might be more socially anxious, what happens here is the friends they develop might be with other socially anxious and shy kids. And if two shy kids form a friendship with each other, it's more likely that both of them are going to withhold self-disclosing and both of them are going to be socially incompetent and they're not able to offer as much help to each other and they're not able to have such a fun time with each other. Although some friendships with shy kids can be good, they're often, when compared to friendships between non-shy kids, they're still compared to be of slightly lower quality. Luckily, there is interventions for this. We certainly can help shy kids with this through social skills training, teaching them about appropriate behaviors, how to invite someone to their house to play, how to make friends at school, what are some safe things to talk about. We know that shy kids tend to drop the ball when they're in conversation. They tend to respond with just one-word answers. And so teaching them how to keep a conversation going, how to use body language or facial expressions to seem more interested and supportive to their friends, this can go a long way. We also know that sometimes it really helps shy individuals if they are able to get involved in peer mentoring. This is the idea that a child who's shy helps a younger child with something. In this dynamic, then the shy child tends to have more confidence, they're not worried about the negative evaluations, and they tend to excel at it. It could also happen that they get paired with a same-age child who becomes their social surrogate. A social surrogate is when a non-shy or more social child will talk for the shy friend. And both friends go everywhere together, but the more social child gets invited to the party and sticks with the shy friend at the party and is able to sort of do everything for them, make the decisions for them, and do all the talking and socializing for them. So other people see them as part of a package. This can benefit the shy child to an extent, is that they get exposed to more things, but it can also be a major disadvantage if it goes on too long and they start to use this as a crutch and they never continue in their social development.